Welcome to another Wednesday weekly live community with the one and only amazing Burnett Group real estate team, Matt and Marty Burnett, always bringing incredible information here to help with home buying, investing, understanding the best things to do and best practices when you're buying and you're selling, and preparing and the financial aspect. Today, we're going to talk about investing. Great to see you both.
Hey, how are you?
Apologize if there's a little bit of a delay there. So sorry about that. We're going to discuss investing today, which I think is important because we all know prices have gone up across the nation. People are worried about interest rates, which we talked about the last time with Anna Cook, which was great. No need to panic. We can still do this. What are some of the adversities that you see when people are maybe afraid to start investing, or how to look at it, or is it too overwhelming, and how easy is it? Let's dive into that conversation.
Well, some people may look at it and think, well, the prices are high. I don't want to invest now. I want to wait until the market crashes, or wait until things get cheaper, or wait until this. Who knows when and if or ever that will happen. I don't know.
My crystal ball's broken.
Yeah, that 8 ball is not working right now. But we do know inflation is going up significantly over the past year and a half. So if you had $1,000 in the bank, a year ago now, it's probably only worth $900 in real money. So prices are going up, but the real estate and different things are going up even more exponentially, and will continue to grow up. Then especially if you're offsetting that by rent. So if somebody else is paying for you to own this property while it appreciates, that's where it becomes really a good investment in some ideas. But we're seeing people from all over the country, local investors. We're seeing people from all over the country investing for multiple reasons. One, they're just looking for places where are growing, where people are moving to. Nashville hits that. It's a hot city. There's people moving in every day from all over the world. They're looking at places that maybe they just want to visit every so often, so they're going to buy a few properties here. Maybe it's a place that they're going to want to eventually move to, whether it's retirement or whether it's just whatever. They're moving in, they're going to go ahead and start investing, or maybe they want to buy a house now and they'll rent it for a couple of years and then move into it. So lots of different reasons. We're seeing out-of-town investors and in-town investors.
People are moving and shaking and doing all kinds of stuff. The big thing we see is younger people wanting to get into the investment scene as well.
I was going to just ask that. I'm glad you touched on it.
Yeah, younger folks wanting to invest their money in places, and real estate's always been a good, solid investment. There are certain investments that are a little more sexy than others. The short-term rental is something that especially the younger crowd thinks is super sexy, but sometimes you got to be real careful with that. Nashville has not embraced the short-term rental just yet.
As the city government.
Nashville itself has embraced it beautifully, but the government, the city government, has not embraced the short-term rentals. Like, say, for instance, in places of Florida, the Panhandle, and down on 38. Short-term rentals are people live happily ever after. Owner occupants and short-term rentals all in one place. And Nashville government just has not grasped that concept. So you have to be very, very careful. When banking on a short-term rental, there are just certain guidelines and rules that you have to follow. And quite frankly, they've changed a lot over the last couple of years, back and forth. And I think we'll continue to see that until, we get a government that really grasps the concept of embracing the short-term rentals. And
this is not going anywhere.
How much money it makes for the city.
Yes.
And the city of Nashville is killing it in tourism, and we should be capitalizing on that. But unfortunately, our people here in Nashville, the politicians don't see it that way. So I don't know what's happening there, but I think people miss out on the idea of just a good, solid multifamily. I think we've talked about that before.
Yes. But touch on it again, because somebody may really need to hear this today that thinks there's no way I can do that. What does that look like? If a young adult was saying, I really want to start investing, talk about that multifamily investment.
Well, multifamily in general is at least a duplex or bigger, more than one unit attached. So anything that's 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, those are pretty small and simple multifamily. You get above that, 5 units or more, and it is a bit of a different financing because you're working with different banks and loans and things like that.
But not when you're 4 units or less, right?
4 units or less, then it's considered like single family financing almost.
Right.
So especially we advise some of our younger clients that maybe aren't married or just got married, I want to do this. Find a duplex, triplex, quadruplex, something like that, and buy it and live in one of those units.
Because then you can get a regular mortgage, just like
really
it's your house.
30-year low rate mortgage on that.
Get 2 or 3 of your friends that want that and 2 or 3 of your friends. You got like your own little Melrose place, which they're not even gonna know what that is.
You just aged us, Marty.
I know. So they're not gonna know what that is. But I'm telling these young people, I'm like, y'all, it's crazy because interest rates are still extremely low.
Yes.
You get a multifamily unit. Let's say you've got 3 units, you're living in one, you're renting the other 2 to your buddies, which is paying for itself. And you've got an owner occupied mortgage and you live in it a couple of years and then you go buy something else. Well, guess what? You don't have to refinance that. So now you've got an investment property on a mortgage that was like for a home loan, which is super low interest. I mean, that's an investment you can carry for years. It'll appreciate. Plus, I think another thing with duplexes, triplexes, they're very rarely vacant all the units at one time. So there's not this whole I got to get it rented real fast, turnover. If you've got 2 or 3 units, maybe one's vacant, the other 2 are there. So it helps you financially.
I know several, I say young adults now, late 30s, early 40s, that at various stages in their mid to late 20s did just this. And not one of them has ever said, gosh, I wish I hadn't done that. Oh, that was a mistake. Every one of them has been like, I'm so glad I started that investing and I bought those properties, because now that's incredible supplemental income to what their career is as well. They can flex and make choices. Some have gone into full time. That's what they do now, is manage those properties. Some have combined it. But what an incredible strategic life plan if you start that early enough. I think there might be a misconception with young adults that investing is for, older, well, you're later in your career and you've built up all this money and then I'm going to go invest. But that's not the case.
No, it's not. And
earlier you start, the better.
And a really good way to build up this money or this wealth is through real estate.
Yes.
It's not something you go buy a rental house, you go buy a duplex, you go buy whatever. Most likely you're not going to use that cash flow each month to live off of or do anything with other than reinvest. Let that build itself. And so then 20 years from now, all of a sudden that thing's paid off. Right. Then you got real cash flow.
Yeah.
So it's a long-term investment for the most.
I wish you had told me this 30 years ago. I wish somebody had.
I know. I was really done. I mean, I'm telling you, this whole idea of the duplexes, the triplexes. I mean, when we were younger, we didn't know about stuff like that and the opportunity. And even now, the way Nashville's growing and the outer communities are growing, they have the opportunity to buy these in areas that are really great areas and, rent them out to friends and family and whatever. And, you have your own little community there. I mean, there's some really good opportunities out there, but as a young person, you have to be able to grasp that. And, maybe you're living in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath for 2 to 3 years. So maybe that's a sacrifice because you want to go out and buy, the big dream home or whatnot. So it does take a little bit of planning. It does take a lot of planning and sometimes a sacrifice.
And at that point, it's investing in yourself. You're not sacrificing. You're investing in yourself. You're investing in your future, investing in your children's future. You're creating legacy that I don't think they always see at a young age, but it's brilliant. Those that really take this advice and have the opportunities. What would you say to those young adults that say there's no way I could ever afford it, thinking that they need to just have $100,000 sitting in their back pocket? What would you advise on that part?
If they can afford to buy a house at all, then they can afford to buy, their first rental property and house at the same time. There's options out there.
Yeah.
Let's look at them. Let's just see what they're wanting to do. What's the long-term goal? What's their current need? And see if there's any ideas we can come up with. So those options are there. Outside of that, some people say, well, I don't want to deal with a leaking toilet at 10 o'clock at night, or whatever those things, those nightmare things you hear about landlording. And some of those cases do come up. And some people are fine to handle it. And then some people, there's management companies out there that do this for you as well. So, for our clients, we introduce them to a couple of managers and say, hey, they'll take care of everything. You don't have to do anything except collect your check, or it's actually just wired into your account each month. And everything's
I
taken
don't know
care
what
of.
a check is anymore.
A
We
check.
go from Melrose Place to a checkbook. Gosh, we have really lost you.
We covered it all, didn't we? It's such great information, and I think we should have this conversation frequently, because I love how you pointed out as well. If you think you're moving out of state, or if you think you're going to be retiring, buy the property now. It's the prices aren't going to go down. Now you're making money on that property while it's waiting for you to go and be in. And I think that's just incredible advice. That
Yeah, we've had quite a few clients that have called in and said, "Hey, we're looking to move to Nashville. We're going to retire in the next 2 to 3 years, but the prices are increasing so much. We want to go ahead and buy that property and just rent it until we get there." And I think it's brilliant.
Yes, their future self will thank them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's fantastic.
There's, like we've been talking too, just about rentals and this and the other. And so you start to build a rental portfolio. And I've got some young clients that I've talked to for years. They've bought some short-term rentals and some different things. And Matt and I are always talking to them about diversifying. Like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Let's say, you're into the short-term rentals. You've got 5 of them. And what happened to, 2 years ago when the short-term rentals kind of went to a bust for a bit, if that's the only place you had invested, it could have been tough for you. But here's the thing. Let's say you've got several long-term rentals, some multifamilies, like,
Right.
that does a lot of commercial type investment. So once you buy your first couple properties, you want to make sure and try to diversify too, and not get all your, rentals either in the same spot or in the same location, or even in the same, category when you're talking about like commercial or residential, or whatever that looks, short-term, long-term, that sort of thing.
I would much rather see amazing families, young professionals, individuals, newly married, singles, older people buy these properties than these giant investment companies. Doesn't mean we don't need those out there in the world, but it would be incredible to see individuals that can have these resources, get the right advice, come to the right professionals like yourselves to say, is this possible? Can I really do this? And see them grow their own portfolios and their wealth for legacy.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah. It's great to help a young person, start their rental portfolio. And we have a client, that has been able to do really well. And we're watching them and the equity they have in the properties that we've sold them, be able to help them, resell those, make a ton of money and reinvest in a new property. We got a lot of 1031 exchange money coming in right now from different places and across the country and right here in Nashville. And a lot of people don't know what a 1031 exchange is. Matt can probably give you the crash course on what that looks like, but basically you're selling out of one property and rolling it right into a like property. There's tons of rules that go along with it, but basically it's just moving your investment.
Deferring taxes.
Deferring taxes. Tax, deferring
income taxes.
Yeah, the deferring of the income taxes is the big thing, but you're rolling it from one property to another. So it allows you to move that money without taking a hit on it going and coming. So we're seeing a lot of that happening right now. People cashing out of stuff and then reinvesting in different places. Some you can cash out of one and reinvest in 2 or 3. So that's
right. I was just going to ask that. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah. It's where they start to organically grow. And that's a really fun thing to watch, your clients be able to do, if they really grasp the concept of it. And it is fun to watch a client that we sold a property to have great equity in it and then sell out of it, invest in 2 or 3 more. It's
or pay their home off, or
pay their house
student debt
off,
or pay whatever. Yeah. So it's good to see that.
Well, again, it starts with the planning and the education. And I wish that these resources and this education had been there for myself and my friends, 30 years ago. We just weren't having these conversations then. And to have resources like this now that people can reach you. I don't care where you are in the country watching this, you can reach Matt and Marty. They're going to be able to advise you, help you, get you into the right areas. They can help in any state in the United States. If you're looking to invest or relocate or really make these strategic plans, reach out, because they can help and get you in the right directions. Thank you both, making me want to go out and find some more properties.
Let's do it.
Thanks.
See you next week.